It's the rugby culture. Everybody in the world who's a rugby fanatic will want to watch. For Indian rugby at the national level has been nothing short of remarkable.
Hello and welcome to a very special conversation with a very special man, friend, but more importantly today the President of Rugby India, who's actually overseeing a sea change in the sport. Welcome and thank you very much
My
for
pleasure.
allowing me. By the way, it's 7 o'clock here in Kolkata and the sun is beating down. We've been here for the last 45 minutes and we've seen the girls train. The idea is to experience training and talk to the whole team to try and understand what they're about to do. Rahul, in Kolkata and Mumbai, for example, rugby has been played for the longest time. I mean, perhaps more than what some of these countries that are playing in the World Cup, right? Why has it not captured public imagination?
Well, I think that it's a two-pronged answer. One is that out of the 750, 60 odd districts, depending on who you talk to in this country, 320 districts play rugby. 40% of India plays rugby, but nobody knows. It's the most played, least known sport in the country. Second, it is a completely, almost entirely rural sport. The Bombays and the Calcuttas, or the Mumbais and the Kolkatas, and the Delhis and the Chennais and the Bangalores form a very minuscule percentage. And whatever percentage they do form in those cities is the urban poor. So people who come from the socioeconomic strata as I do, they don't play. They haven't played this sport for about 10 years. And I think I'm very happy because they've gone to, sports like tennis, chess, golf, badminton, table tennis. Wherever India has done well, you've had the middle class, upper middle class kids gravitate. Besides, why would you smash your nose and break it 3 times like I have, twice in one game for nothing? So I can understand that. So the sport moved completely out. And while it moved out, and as I said, we're in 320 districts, out of them, a massive portion of that is tribal districts, you also then have failed to get onto mass media. You aren't on television. Today, with IPL valuations between online and television at 50-50, you're looking to see how you can make this sport big on the digital space. Ergo this. Outside of this, is there a property that we are developing that would be a world-class property, without a shadow of doubt, and that would put us on the television map of this part of the world and hopefully other parts of the world? The answer is a resounding yes. If you know me at all, you'll know that we've been working on it for 5.5 years, and we still don't believe we are ready, because we believe when we get onto television, people have to turn on and say, this is world class. And in content, in the players, in everything to do with that product, will be everybody in the world who's a rugby fanatic will want to watch.
state of rugby India now? Where's the sport? Because clearly Asian Games happening, India beating Hong Kong, big strides. What's happening?
Boria, tiny strides, tiny strides. Sometimes you have to understand that everything in life is 2 steps forward, 1 step back. So at this point of time, what we are looking at, because the sevens game is also slightly fickle. It's like a T20 game. On a given day, you could pull off an upset. So I think there's a temptation to try and be more optimistic than you actually should be. It's very, very simple. The women's ecosystem that we prepared and we presented to the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports 2 years ago, we prepared a plan to get to the Olympic Games in 2028. We prepared an 81-month plan and we broke it down 81 months. We are ahead of that plan.
Fantastic.
We said we would get to the Asian Games. We're at the Asian Games. Our seeding at the Asian Games is one higher than we expected. And depending on how the Asian Games go, I will tell you whether we are on plan or whether we are behind plan. So we are hoping that we will perform a little bit better than where our seeding is right now. Our seeding is 7. We're hoping we can get to 6 or 5. We'll see. We did 2 things a year and a half ago. We began to pay our players. So all these girls will go home with about 60-70,000 rupees after about 40-50 days of training and the tournament. Maybe not a big amount for you and me, but for them, it's huge. It makes a difference because it actually, I've now spoken to 6 girls yesterday. Some of their home fires are burning because of this. And the second thing we did was insurance.
Wow.
For the whole year. Outside of the camp, if you go back to Karnataka or you go back to Assam and you're playing for your state, you're playing for your district, you're training and you get hurt, you're covered. I have not gotten so many messages of thanks from players than when we had this insurance thing. So these are the 2 things monetarily that just you have to understand. What's the dream, Boria? The dream is to make sure that you put every one of our players, you give them enough money so that they will never have to look for another career and you have them with you for 5 years. And I can tell you this, the first step will be taken next year.
You have Ludwiche now working for the last 5 odd years. You had Nas Botha before that. Does it make a difference? Did it sort of bring in a culture that, okay, you were a great coach, this tradition, impact?
100%. Nas is still very much part of the ecosystem in the 15s. Nas's heart lies with 15s. So we've had lots of chats, him and I, and he wants to work with the men's 15s. It's absolutely fine. They had a very good showing in Qatar. Unlucky but solid showing in Qatar just now, 2-3 months ago. So Nas is very much part of the ecosystem. Ludwiche is part of the sevens ecosystem. What is the impact? I would say first, culture, not socio-cultural. It's the rugby culture. What is the rugby culture that is being imposed by this man? Ludwiche can be funny, he can be empathetic, but he also is very, very certain about what he wants, and he has found a way to cajole, coax, crack down on the women in alternating between these 3 Ludwiches. And I've seen him working, and it really works like magic. They really have a lot of regard for him. So aside from that, there is the sheer knowledge. He understands the sevens game. He really understands the sevens game and the way it goes. So there's a solid bedrock of knowledge, and Ludwiche is the first to admit that I would love to upgrade my skills. So we've actually encouraged him, and we went, and the federation paid for his going to another place to work with, and even senior top class All Blacks coach, just for him to understand more things. So he himself is constantly upskilling, and with that we are extremely happy with both the culture and the quality.
It's been an exciting journey. As you can see, we are at this wonderful institute at SAI, and we are so privileged to train under these circumstances with all the facilities to our availability. But I can assure you that coming from our first camps in 2018 in Ludwiche, starting out on rugged fields, starting out with minimal equipment to our availability, and everybody always trying their utmost best to give the girls what they need and what they deserve. I think it's been an incredible journey until now to see us training at a beautiful facility like this, having everything that the Rugby Union of India is doing for these girls. So we are incredibly excited, and I think that this is a combination of 5 years of hard work and performances and successes that has been achieved by these ladies behind me. Well, we're rugby players. We're never satisfied. We always go for the win. But yes, definitely we are very appreciative of what the states, the government and the Rugby Union is doing for these ladies. And everybody has been so accommodative and supportive towards our dreams and hopes and goals for these girls. At the end of the day, rugby is their gym, is their job, it's their livelihood, and it's very important that we support these girls to the fullest extent of their needs on and off the field. Well, we do not want to talk on the hand of our ladies, but I definitely think that we're in a fair shot, and this is where we want to compete as a nation. Success means different things to different teams. For us going to the Asia Games, that is success already, because this is part of a journey that started already 3 years ago, and Asia Games was on that plan, and today we're on our way to the Asia Games. So we have ticked every single box that and every goal that we have set for ourselves, leading towards the Asia Games and onwards going to the Commonwealth and hopefully one day the Olympics. So I would definitely back my girls to say that we are going to try our utmost best to hit that top 6, and we might even surprise a nation or two. And this is where we want to be. We want to be competing against the Chinas of the world. We want to be competing against the Japans. Those are teams that play currently in the Olympics, in the HSBC, in the World Cup. So this is the level of standard that Rugby India wants their national ladies team to compete on. This is the best of the world teams have to offer. Rugby India is getting a fair shot at competing against them, and for us, that is a successful platform that we want to measure ourselves now with for the near future.
High performance analysis has 3 components to it, at least for other sports. 1, objectification of physical fitness parameters. 2, skill parameters. And 3, obviously during play, understanding it. How and where, according to you, are our girls at the moment?
Yeah, in terms of measurement, when we measure the Indian national women's team in terms of the performance, they're right up there with, I'd rank it with World Series teams. The only deficiency is exposure. So the more exposure they get, whether it's the Asia Series, when they're going to go compete in the trophy and will qualify, and eventually in a year's time get onto the World Series, they're right up there with the top teams that I've worked with around the world. Some like New Zealand women's team, Australia. So the Indian girls are doing pretty well in terms of all those 3 measurements we've mentioned.
So the last question, clearly I sense optimism coming through. Are the facilities adequate? Do the girls have what they need in terms of, parameters that you just mentioned to sort of scale and go to the next level? Is the government and of course Rugby India able to ensure that the ecosystem is there?
Yeah, firstly I'd like to thank government for creating an ecosystem with facilities like SAI, which allows our athletes to reside within the residence and practice within the sporting grounds. And then to Rugby India, the board, especially Rahul Bose, who has actually put in a tremendous effort in allowing us to provide the athletes with all the different components to perform at optimum. And I'll start off by saying, if we look at that, we've got a whole team of 10, which is unheard of before. We've got a head coach, assistant coach, we've got physios, conditioners, we've got a performance analyst, we've got a junior analyst within the structure, we've got masseuses. So creating a high performance environment has always been India's goal, and doing it within the women's structure has been phenomenal. So thanks to, firstly, government for providing all the facilities and aiding us with that. Secondly, Rugby India for putting a tremendous effort in ensuring that we have all the facilities, all the equipment we need to make sure that the senior national women's girl team is well prepared for Asia Games, the trophy, and Asia series that's coming up, and World Series in a year's time.
Tell me something. There is this whole overarching stereotype that Indians don't have the physique. But if I go back in history, 2015, Japan taking out South Africa. So just talk to me about this, that Indians are not equipped to play rugby.
Listen, you're a student of science. Momentum is equal to mass into velocity. So we understand that. Rugby is a lot to do with momentum, but not everything to do with momentum. So yes, you do need momentum, but sometimes you can make up for it in velocity, but you don't have it in mass. However, there is no getting away from the fact that you are moving into an ecosystem where there will be average size of a rugby player is palpably larger today, even in the sevens game, than it was 10 years ago or 15 years ago. A guy like me today is very, very rare, if at all, to see in international rugby. So you're going to have to really create some big boys and big girls. Having said that, even us, if you look behind you, the average height here, which earlier used to be about 5'3", 5'4", now if you look at the average height, would easily be about 5'6" or 5'7", right? So it's definitely a conscious effort. Having said all of this, when our boys beat Hong Kong, I spoke to you 3 weeks ago in Kathmandu. Hong Kong boys, first of all, are not indigenous Hong Kong Chinese, most of them. They were expatriates, so big boys. But our boys, and I'm going to get slightly technical here, at the breakdown, when the ball breaks, at a breakdown, if you don't get there fast, I can pick the ball and keep playing. If you get there slow, or you've got the ball and your teammates are taking time, you will retain the ball hoping that they'll come, and that's foul. You can't retain the ball on the ground. So they gave 6 penalties in the first 6 minutes. 6 penalties, because each time they went to ground, no one was there for them from their team, and we were there, and we picked the ball, and the referee said that's a penalty. So we had possession in a game where we didn't think we would get the ball because they're bigger, stronger, in a scrum, in a line out, they're going to get the ball. We had possession for the whole of the first half because they couldn't come fast enough to the breakdown. So swings and roundabouts, but I'm not going to shy away from the fact that do we need to see a set of physically bigger players amongst, whether you make our current players bigger and stronger or whether you look for our new players. The answer is a resounding yes.